You're live.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Las Cruces, City of Las Cruces work session. Today is Monday, February 9th, 2026. It's approximately 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I am John Munoz, Mayor Pro Tem. Our mayor will be in shortly. Let's start with the moment of silence for the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces as they protect our interests around the globe, and our courageous men and women of the Las Cruces Police Department and Fire Department. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, as we begin the meeting, I'll take a motion if someone would move to allow Councilor Bencomo to participate via Zoom.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second.
This is on the motion to allow Councilor Bencomo to attend the meeting via Zoom. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse is absent. Councilor Harris?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo, I don't think she's on yet, so absent for now. Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Munoz?
Yes.
And Mayor, did you want to vote on this one?
No. Perfect timing.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, motion carries. All right, I'll turn it over to the mayor now as we go into Jobs of the Week with Sarah.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sarah Rainey, and I'm the one-stop coordinator for the Southwest region of America's Job Centers. For Jobs of the Week, we have a utility service worker for the City of Las Cruces starting at $18.07 an hour. That posting closes on the 23rd. We also have a public works inspector for the water wastewater department starting at $23.79 an hour, and it closes on the 16th. We have a sales rep, the relief large grocery mass merchandise for Frito-Lay for $28.20 an hour. Starting that one closes at on the 6th of March. We have an institution liaison and receptionist for Pinnacle Institute. That one starts at $15.90 an hour and closes on the 22nd. A commercial driver, part-time commercial driver for AutoZone, depending on experience is what they pay, and then it ends in March. And then a medical intake specialist for Del Valle Physical Therapy and Hand Therapy, starting at $33 a year, and that one closes in March as well. Just a reminder, we have our Mock It Till You Rock It, where we have all of our local juniors and seniors come in and practice their interview skills and get a little practice on presentation of themselves, asking questions, and just presenting themselves professionally. We are asking for volunteers. We have had a couple of the city council members sign up, so thank you guys so much for doing that. It's really exciting. These juniors and seniors really look forward to this, and it's really eye-opening for them. They get really nervous for their first interview, and we encourage them to have 3 of them. By the 3rd one, they think they've got every job they're going to apply to. So we like to give them that practice and let them, experience it in a practice setting. And then just a reminder, every Monday, we have all subs in our office. They are doing onboarding in our office from 9 to 2 every Monday. So come in, check that out if that's something that you're looking for. And then on the 25th, we have an employer in-office meet and greet where we have different employers from our local area come in and present their opportunities. So if anybody's interested, feel free to check it all out on employeeNM.com. That has all of our local events and then the events throughout the Southwest, as well as our social media. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Next is the agenda item 3.1, the proposed GRT priority projects. Chris Favor.
afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Chris Faber, Community Development Director. Okay. All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I thought we would pick up this discussion right where we left off the budget retreat, which was a discussion about the pay-as-you-go funding and then a decision that seemed like there was consensus around as far as the bonding goes to put 60% of the bonding money towards maintenance projects and then 40% towards new projects. So starting from that point, I did want to go back in and just kind of give a little bit of a overview on the GRT and just kind of, just provide a little bit more context. So we started collecting the funds last year. We're generating about 1.1 million per month. And so between when we started collecting and June of 2027, we'll probably bring in an estimated about $24.6 million. For the bonding portion of it, there is an $8.8 million debt service payment, and that will allow us to tap into about $20 million every 2 years. That leaves about $15.8 million in what's called pay-as-you-go, and that's basically the GRT funds that are not obligated to the bond debt service. And then moving forward beyond July of next year, basically into FY28, you're looking at your bond debt service and then roughly, the remaining balance there that could go towards pay-as-you-go. But I do want to caution everybody that 4.4 is just an estimate. It could go up or down just depending on what those collections are, but the debt payment will be roughly what we are obligating to there. So the first things I wanted to talk to you about were the pay-as-you-go project. And so a bulk of that could go towards deferred maintenance of city facilities. Right off the bat, there's $8 million needed for roofing projects alone. So there's a wide variety of projects that could be funded when it comes to those facility maintenance projects. Another top priority project, this was a street project, but that's to redo the Hoagland-Alameda intersection there. And then putting $5 million towards fire department apparatus, and then $5 million towards both vehicles for the police department and a portion of that towards the driving track. I believe Chief Daniels talked a little bit about the fire apparatus at the budget retreat, but basically, there was a few years where we didn't order some of the apparatus that were needed, so this is kind of making up for some of those years that we didn't, and similarly for the vehicles in the police department. So moving on to recommendations for bonding, specifically the 60% that would go towards maintenance, that works out to be about $12 million. Recommendations here are $5 million to go to Fire Station 1 improvements, anything from the heating and cooling, plumbing, utilities, re-roof. There's an extensive list of improvements that need to be made over there. We're also recommending $4 million to go towards general street maintenance. This would be for projects that are, part of the Pavement Condition Index program, which determines which streets need to be priority and what sort of processes need to be implemented to deal with the conditions on those streets that have been identified. We're recommending $2.4 million to go towards public safety fleet upkeep. This would be over 2 years, and this breaks down to about $600,000 per year for each police and fire, and that will allow them to keep up with fleet maintenance so we don't fall behind like we've done in the previous years. And then the balance of that, we are making a recommendation of $600,000 for additional facility maintenance, specifically towards ADA compliance on city facilities. So moving on to bonding, the 40% new projects gives us about $8 million. And I've just listed several projects that were kind of priority that have been identified through the process. Again, putting more money towards road reconstruction, money towards the Joint Public Safety Training Facility, $2 million towards Bruin and Motel Road improvements, and that project specifically is if Parks moves forward with either a park build-out of the land that they purchased over there or some sort of a recreational facility in that area. Improvements to that road would be needed to handle the additional capacity. Potentially putting some money towards municipal court design. Public Works has worked up kind of a loose estimate of how big a facility would need to be, roughly 25,000 square feet, and based on the going rate for design and construction per square foot, you're looking at about $22 to $25 million for a new municipal facility. You could put money towards starting that design process. Again, additional park projects, there's a long list of park projects that could use funding, so you could put money there. Again, there's also a lot of current projects on the CIP that could use specific funding to fill some of those gaps. Maybe they just need a few $100,000 to complete them. That could be money dedicated specifically to checking off some of those. And then putting money towards the Angler Road extension. Overall, that's about a $24 million project, but I think there's some interest at the state level to maybe kick in some money. So if we were able to put some money towards that, that could possibly, get us more money from the state level. So that's really the last slide I had. I kind of wanted to leave it on this slide and sort of turn it over for discussion amongst council. Really what we kind of need today from a staff perspective is we need to get some consensus on pay-as-you-go projects and then the bonding projects in order for staff to move forward with, budget adjustments and other things. So if we can come out of here with consensus on all those areas or some of those areas, that would be very beneficial towards the process. So I will stand for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Councilor McClure.
Thank you, Mayor. I know at the budget retreat, we talked a little bit about traffic calming, and I felt like there were a couple of places where that might go. If that is in new projects, sort of under road reconstruction, or is it under streets maintenance? But I think all of us kind of spoke to the need for traffic calming and where we can kind of enable that with either new funding or, but I would also say, just to wrap my little area up here, I think the muni court's important. I think parks design is important. And I also think closing out some of the current CIP things where we have projects that we can kind of do quickly kind of goes along with what I was saying too at the budget retreat. Thank you.
Councilor Harris.
Thanks. So, yeah, I would also like to make sure that we get something for parks on it. I think that was in the language of the measure to approve the GRT. And I'm also in favor of closing CIP gaps, and also wanted to remind about traffic calming, because that's a big, important thing to me as well. And actually, I guess if you could maybe remind us all and members of the public what the language was when we approved this GRT increase.
Certainly, Mayor, Councilor Harris. I believe it was, funds dedicated to capital improvements specific to parks, street improvements, and public safety, and then other public facilities as well. So it was new capital and maintenance that kind of covered that broad range. That's not exactly the language, but those were the major milestones within the verbiage.
Yeah, thanks. Michael Harris again for the record. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we hit all of those things: parks, public safety, street improvements, since that's what we asked people for. That's what they said we get, so we should do it.
Councilor Corinne.
Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Munoz had his button on. Okay. Thank you for this. I also want to speak to the Bruins Motel Road. I know that rec centers were a large, overwhelmingly supported component of the public input sessions that we did, as well as our commitment to focusing on things with youth. So for me, I really want to speak to the Bruins Motel specific road improvements as they gesture toward a future of a rec center or a significant park buildup in that area, which I think is historically underserved with parks and recreation opportunities. And I would also add the Engler extension, I think, is somewhat specific to my district, but also a huge kind of demand and corresponding investment that the New Mexico Department of Transportation will be making related to the Engler interchange is supposed to start in 2027. And so that, and people in my district, the single biggest thing, aside from neighborhood traffic calming, which I would also say is the thing that folks are looking for, is the increasing danger of having a large population that has only one ingress and egress. And I think I've heard this from the fire department as well, and they're thinking about the East Mesa specifically. So I just wanted to speak to that Engler gesture toward a large project that I think we should be investing in, that we can magnify the money related to that. So other than that, I echo what a lot of my colleagues say, but I do want to elevate rec centers as the thing that many, many people in the public mentioned, and I think the Bruins and Motel road improvements is where that appears in this new funding, so I hope we can consider that public input.
Councilor Bencomo, if you're on.
Yes, I hope you can hear me. My Wi-Fi is very bad, so can folks hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, are you asking for further guidance at this point? Because I can also share some thoughts. I wanted to clarify what the ask is right now.
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, yes, we're looking for further direction. If you have other items you would like to discuss as well, by all means. These are just recommendations based on some of the information we've pulled together during this process.
I understand. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it. Staff taken, at the budget retreat, being open to the 60-40 switch for, maintenance and existing infrastructure versus new infrastructure. I think from what I see, certainly in the city, I've said this before, that there is a clear infrastructure emergency. And so that needs to really be, taken seriously. And so I think we want to make sure that municipal court is on that list, that our road conditions are on that list, and that we are addressing the issues in parks. And to me, that's really critical. And so I think the other part of, when we went to the public and said public safety, I also think that means traffic calming. We've seen the number of pedestrian accidents where our people been injured or even worse, killed. And so to me, that also means public safety. Public safety also means our firehouses. And I think those are really important pieces for us to continue to highlight. When it comes to some of the new infrastructure, for me, it was very clear that actually, and then back in the, in the 60% of maintenance, the library, obviously, right? Like that is a very clear ask from the community. In terms of new infrastructure, as Councilor Corrin said, recreational centers were a really big ask, and that was a very popular ask for our constituents, especially constituents who don't have access to as many parks in their communities as potentially other neighborhoods in the city do. And so, yes, I'm going to continue to advocate for rec center on the west part of town, and to make sure that that moves forward. And then I think what I'm about to say now might be a little bit controversial, and again, I want to caveat that. I also want to note that the public safety building complex, that only one counselor during the budget session had that on their priority list. And now I know that if you maybe ask for that consensus today, you could potentially get a majority support for that. But I wanted to note that because I noticed that only one counselor had that on their list, and that obviously this is a very much a staff priority, but it was also not a priority largely by the public when we went out to the public and asked them to, name their support systems. And then the last thing I'll say is that I think, we want to make sure that whatever we can do to ensure our water, like our utilities, infrastructure is taken care of. To me, that is all very important. So I don't know if that's any more guidance. I wanted to note that. And I think if you say, well, public safety, we have to address something, and we are, right? Like the racetrack, that has been very clearly an urgent request that has been made, and we've been making it to the legislators, and we're making it through this process. And that to me felt like the most clear. It has a plan, it's needed now, that can move forward. And to me, the public safety complex was just not there. And again, I'm just one voice, though, naming that during the budget retreat. That was not something highlighted by most folks. And thank you, Chris, and the whole staff for getting us here.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris and Leslie and staff, thank you very much for putting this together as well. I'm glad that the Engler Road extension is on there. I am very close to Councilor Curran's district, and so I travel in and about, and we need some help there. Also happy to see the parks projects, road construction, road calming, and road repair on the list as well. So for Chief Daniels and Chief Story, I know we talked about design along with the training track for the Joint Public Safety Training Facility. One thought that I do have in mind is, could we, if it makes sense overall, and I would like my colleagues to weigh in as well, would it make sense to build now and rather than design and take that further down years? Does it make sense to do it, have a building now that's a training facility that would make sense to get to fruition sooner rather than later, and probably save us some money in the long term? And Chris, you can weigh in as well if you want to, but I really want to talk to the subject matter experts, both chiefs.
Chief Story, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. Jeremy Story, Police Chief, for the record. That's a very good point. I think we've been dealing with, a dilapidated double wide for a long, long time. I think Mayor went through, I don't know if you went through the academy there or not, but we're used to kind of begging and borrowing anything we can to accomplish training for so long that what we really want is a place to actually do the training. It doesn't have to be fancy. We don't need a Taj Mahal. It doesn't have to be bougie. We just want to get the training done. So Chief Daniels and I actually were talking about this last week and trying to find a way to, instead of taking $3 million for design, which is a lot of money just for design, I admit that, I'd rather put that money into getting something that achieves a purpose now, like a metal building, a modular build, or a prefabricated metal building that does what we need to do without all the bells and whistles. And I think I'll let Chief Daniels speak to it. I mean, that's what fire has been leasing for a lot of money for a few years, is essentially a metal building. And it's important, the training building is not just meant to be a training building, it's meant to accomplish the logistics piece, especially for fire, that they're using the other building for right now. So I would support that. I think that's a really good idea, Mayor Pro Tem.
Chief Daniels.
Mayor Pro Tem, Mike Daniels, Fire Chief, for the record. No, I just wanted to, just to echo Chief's story. I think naturally what we've seen is, and what we're learning with even our regular facilities, the cost of construction doesn't get any less, and it seems to increase quite rapidly. Just the difference between Station 3 and Station 9, a few years apart, is in the millions in construction increases for a station that's not much bigger. So I think the more we continue to push it down, one, we're continuing to invest $18,000 a month in a facility that we don't own. That's our lease amount, which is up in July for renewal. But and we've been in the same boat. We've been kicked out of some facilities that had other plans, and we've been forced to lease buildings over the years. The first one was significantly smaller, still quite expensive. And then we moved to Valley Drive as we were growing and our facility needs were growing and our fleet wasn't able to work on our vehicles in their facilities. So we look at it as very much a not just police, fire, but it's also solving a fleet problem. And I agree that there is a mechanism where we can look at some fabricated buildings and maybe reduce the cost and get something functional, understanding that we may be able to add on. And the design side, once we get it designed, it positions us well for being able to request capital outlay, because we continue to be told shovel-ready projects, shovel-ready projects, shovel-ready projects. So this may also be augmented by our ability to get legislative appropriations.
Wonderful. So it sounds like it's doable, and you're leasing a building now rather than the city owning it. Chris, Leslie, from your perspective, is that doable?
Mayor Pro Tem, I mean, if one of the recommendations is for funding to go to that, we can certainly include that on the list here. It was listed as one of the things, like we did discuss it as designed specifically before, but if there's conversations to do something different, just staff direction would be all we would really need.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Leslie. Again, something that I wanted to share was a thank you to the voters who voted for this GRT increase. It may seem like a list, and it seems picking and choosing can be problematic at times, difficult. But the truth of the matter is, we have added value. We can add value to our community, and that is something that speaks volumes. And again, I thank the voters that said yes to this increase. It's not so much the projects, it's the value. I know that there's bottlenecks at Angler. If we get a new wreck, there's going to be bottlenecks. I understand the traffic calming, all those things. So, all those things have to take place. The library has been long overdue for being rehabilitated. Fire Station 1. But the training facility, that to me has been something that was talked about back in 2007 that was going to get done, giving us as firefighters and police officers this hope that someday we'll get that training facility. And here we are, 2026, still talking about it. I think this is a great opportunity, as both chiefs have said. We get kicked around, we get moved around. Chief Story, I think we did our defensive tactics at Sisbaro's in a vacant building that they had available. So the fire department had tea time. We were booted out of that so that it could be sold. We still have that. So I think it's very important that we look at this public safety training facility, however we can get it started so that we can start looking at external funding, whether it's federal dollars, state dollars, any way that we can get some funding, some grants, anything that we can get to start building on once we get it started. So all those other things, I say they are priorities, they are important. That would be my priority. And again, to add value to our community. Thank you. Councilor Harris.
Thanks. Michael Harris for the record. I also really like the thought of maybe downscoping the training facility. I think the training facility itself is very important. Coming out of our budget retreat, it sounds like it's going to help a lot more departments than just the police department. They need the track urgently. Like the chiefs are saying, they need space. And instead of spending $3 million to do a design and then waiting another couple of years to put together tens of millions of dollars to actually build some super fancy thing, if we can throw $1 million at it and get a giant steel building, that's roughly equivalent, a little better than what they've got now. That sounds like excellent value for the money if that's something that would help them out. And so I guess I just was penciling things out here. I'm kind of seeing consensus on Bruins improvement because of the rec center, parks. Angler Road, I had a question about that. How much does $1 million actually get us on that project?
Mayor, Councilor Harris, I don't know specifically. I think it was more to show commitment from the city and try and advocate for, funds for that project from the state level. So, I mean, if it was something that council wanted to put money towards and it didn't pan out, maybe we could redirect those funds. I think it was just to kind of show them that, it is a high priority for the city, so.
Okay, so there's no like concrete ask. We're just saying we are willing to budget $1 million of this towards this project and, to match whatever. Okay. So yeah, with those things and then, filling gaps in other CIP projects, which I'm all for pushing things over the finish line. That's about $8 million.
Thank you.
So sorry, to that end, we were talking about traffic calming. Those kind of projects probably would fit under maintenance as well, because we're maintaining streets and adding traffic calming measures.
Correct.
Councilor Curran?
Thank you. I just want to go back to the public safety training facility. I hear the idea of getting things done, but I think that on our CIP, this has been somewhere between $20 and $60 million in its ultimate cost. In the original draft of what this looked like, that's about the area, and I think the 20 was like 2007 prices. So I think that the last I saw, this was somewhere in the realm of $40 to $60 million. And while I think thinking about it differently would be welcome, I do not think that, I don't think we can, I think we should neither short it in a way that makes it not as useful as it's meant to be. So to me, I feel like the fact that we're not sure what exactly we need and what role that's filling sort of speaks to the need to have a robust planning component to it, because I wouldn't want us to say, oh, can you get something for $3 million? I know we can't. That is not going to fill what the projected needs are that you're alluding to. So I think generally what seemed to come out was a question of whether this seemed like a lot of money for planning, which is an abstract idea, but I do think that planning things is something that is best done thoughtfully and with a lot of kind of input and communication in terms of, it's not something that I think we could adequately do. So I just want to sort of speak to, when I look at this and I think about a $60 million project, I think we need to invest in planning it and making sure that we're serving the needs that we say we're going to serve. I wouldn't want us to think about doing something that was, my sense is that it's north of 1 million and south of 60 million, but beyond that, we're not really sure what this will look like. So from my perspective, having seen this and seeing it on the CIP as about $40 million, I think I really would like to know more concretely what we're really talking about building, and where there's room to change or do something different.
Councilor McClure?
Just to clarify a little bit on the public safety, would this be on land we own? I keep getting confused about the driving track and the public safety building. Those are kind of adjacent to each other. Am I correct about that? And then we would own that land, and currently the training facility for fire we don't own. Is that right? Okay. I'm just. So I would say scaling down would be a good one, so that we're already losing money by leasing. So if we can put it on land we already own, it makes more sense to me. That's
Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. I think these are all valid points, and my suggestion is not to I can't think of another word, to shortchange the departments. Definitely believe that you should get what you deserve and what works well, right? If this is a start, and we can start with the good, strong, solid foundation in the shell, and it's still workable, then definitely I have consensus, and I agree this is the route that we should take. So, you know, if it's land that we owned, if it's something that we could start with, or even a shell, with the knowledge of maybe we might need to upgrade in the future, I think it makes sense to go ahead and start that up now. So that would be my thought, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. For some clarity on the land and what's already there, like Fire Station 7 already has a training tower, things like that. Chief Story, do you have anything else to add on that?
Thank you, Mayor. Jeremy Story, Police Chief, again for the record. The lot that's identified for the driving track would be the same lot that we would intend to put the training building on, and that's just south of where Fire Station 7 and the training tower are. So it's very convenient for both fire and us to have the training building out there. And just on the concept of the metal building, it definitely would be more than $3 million, to Councilor Cran's point, and it should definitely be less than what we were talking about with a traditional brick and mortar at $30 million plus. I think the goal would be if we can do it for $8 million, $10 million instead of 30, that's a win for everybody. It'd probably be done faster. One of the other reasons that we're asking for the training building, and this is prior to 2007, that we've actually been working on this. I was talking to one of the retired lieutenants at Qualls this week, and he's like, I was working on that project in 2006. It's been a long time coming. We are bursting at the seams of a station. A new station, if we're trying to tackle that project, is 60 to 80 million or maybe more. If we are able to build this facility where we can move our academy over there, that will free up space at the East Mesa station, which maybe buy us a couple more years, so we don't exceed the growth. I mean, we're just bursting at the seams already, but that would relieve some of the pressure. And a metal building also can be expanded. So one of the good things is we can get the bare, make it nice, make it usable. We're not trying to cut the corners. We want to be able to do the training, but you can always add on to the metal building, which is a benefit to it in the future for other things that are needed, but maybe not the things we need right this second. Hope that helps. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Daniels, what is the cost right now for the leasing of the facility on Valley Drive?
Mr. Mayor, Mike Daniels, the current is $18,000 a month is what we're paying, plus utilities.
And is that scheduled to increase, or is there like tier rental?
Mr. Mayor, we are getting ready to start having those conversations with the owner because the lease expires in 6 months. So we're in the process of getting that renegotiated.
Okay, thank you.
We would expect that it's going to increase, though.
Great. Councilor Harris?
Thanks, Michael Harris, for the record. I wanted to clarify my position is basically exactly what Chief Story was saying. I am looking for an iterative approach to this project rather than that gets us something now and then in the future we can add on to it to get us new things rather than saying we're going to spend $60 million on this great gleaming facility and it'll be ready in 10 years. And in the meantime, we're stuck with what we've got. So it sounds like the departments have a good idea of what they need right this second and direction on where they might upgrade in the future. So obviously building those into the plans seems like it's very prudent. We don't want to design, if we're going to get a metal building, we design it and put it on the land in such a way that it can be added on to later and get classrooms or put in plumbing and fixtures and things where they can be added. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Did you want to? Mayor Pro Tem.
No, just one more comment, just shifting gears a little bit, and then a point of clarification. For Steve, on the parks projects, one of the themes or comments that I had at the budget retreat was to ensure I know the team is doing a great job. I just want you to continue doing that, of making sure that those parks are accessible, especially to our ADA residents. Roughly about 9.8 to about 11% of our kids in Las Cruces are ADA, and would love to see more kids in the park regardless of their abilities, and also grandparents and great-grandparents that are able to traverse through parks would be my hope.
Steve Bam, Parks and Rec Director. Mayor and Councilor Muniz, Mayor Pro Tem Muniz, yes, every design we do, everything we look at is to comply with ADA law and accessibility, and if anything, we look to go above and beyond to make it accessible to all individuals.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Another point of clarification, Mayor, and for our city clerk. I think Chris mentioned wanting consensus. Is it simple consensus? It's a work session, so we don't necessarily vote on this. So just with the context that the counselors have provided, then the staff goes forward and starts this up. Okay, because it's almost Thanksgiving again, so we want to get started. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Back to me?
Yes.
Okay. So kind of what I'd like to do now is we can wrap up conversation here in a minute on these new projects, but I thought maybe we go back to the beginning and just make sure we're good on pay-as-you-go recommendations, then the 60%, and then we can kind of lock in final direction on the 40. So if you don't mind, I'll take you guys back to pay-as-you-go. If we're all good with this slide, then I will move on to the next slide. Going once.
I'm sorry.
Councilor Curran.
I apologize. I'm not objecting to this, and when you say going once, I react and push the button. So if you ever want me, but I'm hoping that for the sake of people who weren't at the budget retreat, people who are listening, can you explain what you mean by pay as you go, please, and sort of talk about what this means in the bigger context of how this is going, and then also when will we have to, so pay as you go this year, next year, what is the sort of cyclical nature of these two? If you could talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I'll turn the money stuff over to Leslie, so.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Oh, you're taller than me, Chris. Councilor Corrin. So yes, there's really two pots of money that we're looking at because we have begun to collect before we have bonded. So the first pay-as-you-go is going to be significantly more because we have and will continue to collect about 1.1 a month. So once that is spent and accounted for, then going forward, beginning in 28, we will have 13.1, but 8.8 of that has to go to debt service. So anything beyond that will be the pay-as-you-go.
Thank you. I just wanted to I don't know that folks necessarily listening or I don't know that I understood this prior to you explaining it so well at the budget meeting, exactly how this money is being divided and how some of it goes to debt and some of it goes to bonds and some of it is we can spend as we're going along, and we've been collecting it for a little while in the meantime. So thank you for just making that a little bit more explicit. Yes, ma'am.
Councilor Harris.
Thanks. I guess I had a related question. So on the next slide, maybe the next one, where the list of projects. Yeah, so what you're looking for direction on today is direction for that 15 million pay-as-you-go that's available right now because we've already got some that we've been collecting and haven't spent. So So we have 15 now, and then next year we're going to have 4. Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Harris, I'm sorry, ask that question one more time. I want to make sure I'm understanding before I answer.
Sure. So I wanted to clarify what you're looking for direction on today. And my understanding is we're looking to direct spending of about 15 million today.
Yes, that
Because that's how much pay-as-you-go funds we have currently and expect in the next 2 years.
Through,
Yeah.
yes, June through July, yes.
Okay. And then next year, when we come back to have this discussion again, it'll be 4.4, yeah, or whatever we collected.
Estimated.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanna
of course.
make sure that-
Yep, no, it could go up or down, of course.
Yes.
Yep.
Councilor McClure?
Can you give us a little bit more on the deferred maintenance, asset maintenance, sort of, give us some project ideas so that people just basically know what, I know it's going to be roofs, it's going to be a lot of roofs, but a little bit more.
It doesn't just have to be all roofs. I mean, there's a variety of things, and there's a lot of things on the CIP. I don't want to put Cynthia on the spot, but if she wants to come down and speak specifically to the wide range of projects on the CIP that would be under deferred maintenance, she probably is sort of the expert on that. Way more money than, needed than we have right now, but it would be a good start.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Cynthia Lamillo, CIP Manager. We do have a vast number of projects that need funding. Specifically talking about deferred maintenance, we have a wide range of projects. As Chris mentioned, we have all of the several re-roofs that we need. We also have a couple building infrastructure improvements are needed. That it goes from basic security improvements like fencing through actual improvements to some of the structural elements of a building. We know that fire stations are some of those elements. Bigger projects that go to the other extreme with municipal court, but some of our utilities buildings also need improvements. And I believe some internal city hall improvements in general. And then we also have on the other end parking lots that need repairs. And then we have replacement of generators that it's just one element, but it's quite costly and it's a significant project that we want to be considered.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on from pay-as-you-go unless there's more questions.
No, go ahead, Chris.
Okay. So moving into the 60% category, we're recommending improvements to Fire Station 1, putting money into the street maintenance, the fleet upkeep, and then specific facility maintenance to ADA compliance. Go ahead.
Councilor Harris?
Seems like there's a little less than 12 on these two slides.
Right about 12, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Good.
Go ahead.
Okay. And so Leslie and I were trying to do some math while we were keeping up with the discussion. I think what we were seeing is Bruins Lane seemed to be high priority. The funding for gaps in current CIP projects seemed to have some support. Engler Road, then the municipal court, and then if there was a conversation about putting a certain amount of money towards the public safety facility. So those were kind of the ones that we keyed in on. We can sort of work with staff to finalize exactly what those amounts should be for each of those. Some of these were kind of just more estimates, but we can, if that's kind of the consensus there, we can take from there, refine that, and as we come back with budget adjustments and the ordinance for the bonding, we'll have more specific numbers. So if that's good direction, I think I will take that as a win.
I just want to
Yes,
have you say
Councilor
on the
McClure.
record, sorry, that traffic calming is one of those things. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Homo?
Thank you. Yes, I completely agree with Councilor McClure, traffic calming. And then, Chris, I'm sorry if I missed this before, but I know that it had been previously on the lists, and I'm sorry if I missed it in your presentation, but is the traffic calming, potentially traffic light at Alameda and Hoagland, has that been scrubbed? Because if it has, I want to advocate for, talk about one of those things that's been 20 years in the making. That is one of them.
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, no, we have that as one of the priority projects for the pay-as-you-go.
Awesome. Sorry about that. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I just feel very strongly about this.
Thank you.
Councilor Harris?
Yeah, I also feel very strongly about making sure that we've got traffic calming projects in there and some kind of way to make sure that those are able to be expended quickly on smaller projects to get good return.
Okay. Anything else, Chris?
I'm good. Thank you.
No, thank you again. Again, I can't stress enough, this adds value to our community, and that's what we have to look at, the big picture, and I think this is great, and we'll look forward to,
We'll be back.
yes, what you bring back. All right. That was the only item on the agenda? Okay, motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn. Harris?
Second, Munoz.
This is on the motion to adjourn the work session. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse is absent. Counselor Harris?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo?
Yes, and thank you for letting me join via Zoom.
Counselor Coran?
Yes.
Counselor Munoz?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes.